The night my patience officially expired actually started on a pretty normal morning. The kind of day where you're thinking about invoices and delivery schedules, not about locking half a neighborhood inside your own garage. I rolled up the warehouse door, coffee in one hand, key in the other, and just froze, because staring back at me from inside my private garage were 6 cars, all lined up in a neat little row like some deranged dealership display: SUVs, sedans, even a smug little convertible, engines still warm, condensation on the windows, coffee cups in the cup holders like they'd just tucked their vehicles in for the night. And then I saw it, slapped on every windshield like a signature, a bright pastel parking pass with the logo of Maple Ridge HOA, and right in the middle of the lineup sat a silver Lexus with a vanity plate that read DV Queen. And that was when my stomach dropped, because I knew exactly whose car that was: the self-appointed monarch next door, Dana Whitfield, president of the HOA, destroyer of joy, protector of community standards, the woman who'd been treating my parking lot like overflow seating at her personal kingdom. For context, I'm Logan Price. I own a small logistics company tucked behind a row of old oaks on the edge of town. My warehouse and the big aluminum garage out back are everything to me. They store my trucks, my pallets, my equipment, my sanity. I bought this place years before Maple Ridge HOA even existed, paid off the land with late nights, cheap coffee, and more stress than my doctor would approve of. My crew: Ruben, my lead driver; Mason, the perpetually late rookie; and Elena, who actually keeps the whole operation from falling apart. They're basically family. We park our trucks here, load at 5 a.m., repeat. Then the empty lot next door got improved. The developer sold it. And suddenly there was a cute little brick community building, a playground, and about 12 parking spots. The birth of Maple Ridge Estates and their beloved Maple Ridge HOA. At first it was harmless: new neighbors, new cars, a little extra traffic. Then the meetings started: yoga nights, wine socials, brunch clubs, and magically, 12 HOA parking spaces somehow turned into borrow Logan's entire lot because it's convenient. At the beginning, I tried to be that nice, reasonable guy, the one YouTube comments later called too patient. A couple cars would show up on my asphalt. I'd leave polite notes: private commercial property, please don't park here. I even used please. I emailed Dana Whitfield, whose signature looked like she was running for Congress, explaining, "Hey, I own all this. My drivers need access. Can you remind your members not to park on my land?" She replied with one short, nuclear line: "Logan, the alleyway behind your building is considered community access. Our members are allowed to use it as needed. D. Whitfield." I double-checked the county map that night, just to make sure I hadn't slipped into an alternate universe. Nope. Parcel clearly in my name. No easements. No shared access. Just me, myself, and a big rectangle of concrete. I even sent her the highlighted plat map. She ignored it, and magically the cars multiplied. Then came the post-it notes, slapped on my no parking sign. Please be neighborly. Community use is allowed during official Maple Ridge HOA events. DW. It escalated from annoying to insane the night of the big storm. Rain hammering the metal roof, wind howling. Mason and I were finishing a late load when a caravan of HOA SUVs swung into my lot. Doors flew open. People ran straight toward my building. And before I could even shout "wrong door," they were yanking on my garage handle. Dana, in a yellow raincoat, barking orders like a storm general, telling 2 guys to just pull it manually. And they actually forced my door up and started rolling their cars inside, one after another, like they owned the place. Mason looked at me, rain dripping off his nose. Boss, are we stopping them, or what?" And I just stood there, soaked, staring at this parade of entitlement, feeling my anger climb up my spine, and something inside me clicked. I didn't scream. I didn't tackle anyone. I just watched them tuck their precious vehicles into my garage for the night and thought, "You have no idea what you just started." I locked the side door, drove home in silence, and by the time I pulled into my driveway, the revenge part of my brain had already started writing blueprints. Monday morning, the storm was gone, the sky was bright, and my mood was not. I pulled into the lot, lifted the garage door, and there they were, exactly where they'd left them: 6 HOA cars, still lined up like a showroom, and front and center, Dana Whitfield's silver Lexus, plate gleaming, DV Queen. My crew pulled up behind me, Ruben whistled. Man, they didn't even pretend this time. Right on schedule, at 8:05 a.m., a white SUV rolled in like it was pulling up to a red carpet event. Dana stepped out in a white blazer, sunglasses the size of small plates, followed by Linda Crane, the realtor who never stops talking, and Mark Ellison, the loafers no socks vice president of the HOA. Dana beamed. Logan, good morning. I see you found our cars. That storm was brutal. We just needed shelter. No big deal, right? I told her, as calmly as I could, that she'd broken into my building, that this was a commercial space, that her members were trespassing. She smiled like I'd just complimented her shoes. You weren't using it. It's just a garage. And besides, the alleyway is shared access under Maple Ridge guidelines. It's basically community space. So I did the thing reasonable people do. I pulled out the county map, unrolled it on the hood of my truck, tapped the bold property line. All of this, garage, alley, side yard, is mine. She glanced at it for about 2 seconds and said the sentence that killed whatever patience I had left. We'll have to confirm that with the board. These documents can be misleading. From there it was a slow-motion train wreck. They started putting up overflow parking, Maple Ridge HOA events only signs on my fence. They held a full HOA meeting inside my garage, complete with a folding table, cheese, and cheap wine. Dana told me to stop being hostile and be grateful your building is being used. And when I warned her that if one more car parked on my property I'd tow it, she smirked and said, "You can't tow community members without board permission," as if her board outranked basic property law. I tried one last diplomatic move. I walked into their board meeting at the Maple Ridge Pavilion, in my cleanest shirt, property map in hand, and told the room full of homeowners exactly what was happening, that their leadership was using my land without permission, that I'd warned them multiple times. Dana turned on that fake sweet voice, called me aggressive, suggested I was hurting my business reputation, and framed herself as the protector of community harmony. I walked out knowing logic had officially left the building. That was the day I called Carlos Vega, the locksmith who'd installed my original doors. Carlos, I need industrial-grade locks, the kind you'd put on a small bank vault, and I need them yesterday. He laughed. Asked if I was expecting burglars. I told him. Worse, I'm expecting an HOA. He came out that weekend with new hinges, reinforced bars, upgraded keypads. We worked into the early morning, bolting, drilling, sealing. By sunrise my garage was more secure than my sanity. And for a few days, it was quiet, too quiet. No cars, no flyers, no HOA banners, just the hum of normal business, which of course meant something stupid was coming. It arrived on a Friday night, right before sunset. Ruben called me, half laughing, half furious. Boss, you better get down here. It's like a wine festival in your garage. I drove over, turned down the alley, and had to laugh because otherwise I'd scream. The garage door was up, lights blazing, and inside my building Dana and her crew were having a full-blown garage party. 6 cars parked inside. Folding table covered in snacks and wine bottles. HOA pamphlets stacked next to cupcakes. Dana, leaning on her Lexus like she was doing a commercial. I walked in. She greeted me like a late guest. Logan, you made it. We just needed extra space while the community hall is being cleaned. Don't worry. We'll be out soon. Don't ruin the vibe. Mark chimed in. It's Friday. Man, you're not working. Relax. They had broken in again, ignored the new locks, moved my stuff, and were now lecturing me about being neighborly. And that was the exact moment my brain stopped playing defense and started playing chess. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just smiled, stepped back toward the door, and said, "You're right. Enjoy your evening. Just make sure everyone's car is parked all the way inside before you close up." The confusion in Dana's face was almost worth the months of annoyance. The next morning, before the sun was fully up, Carlos and I were back. We checked through a side window first. Every car was still there. Dana's Lexus, Linda's BMW, Mark's Jeep, plus a couple extras, all sleeping peacefully. We installed one more layer of locks, heavy steel bars, extra deadbolts, secured every exit point. Then I taped a small sign to the front. Garage closed for maintenance. Do not enter. And then I drove to the airport. I had a ticket to the beach, a week off, and more legal documentation than most people bring on vacation. While I sat in a beach chair in Florida, waves rolling in, sun on my face, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree back home. voicemails from Dana, emails from info@mapleridgehoa.org. Even one polite call from a very tired police officer. The first message from Dana was fake sweet. Logan, little mix-up. Some of our members can't retrieve their cars from your garage. If you could just unlock it, we'll clear everything up. By voicemail 3, the sweetness was gone. You're holding HOA property hostage. This is illegal. We'll sue. We'll have your business shut down. By voicemail 8, you could hear people arguing in the background, someone shouting about insurance, someone else yelling, "Why did you park there in the first place, Dana?" The police officer who called me sounded almost apologetic. He asked if the vehicles were on my land. I said yes. If there were posted signs, I sent photos. He sighed and said, "Legally, it's your property, sir. This sounds like a civil issue. You're within your rights to secure your building." My lawyer, Olivia Hart, who already had copies of every email, photo, and sign, sent me one line that let me fully relax. "You're clean. Enjoy the ocean." So for a week, I did. And back home, Maple Ridge, HOA melted down. They tried tow trucks, but no company would remove cars from a locked private building without the owner's permission. They tried the zoning office, only to be reminded my warehouse had been there nearly a decade before their subdivision. They tried pressure, threats, and dramatic voicemails. And meanwhile, their beloved president was slowly realizing her authority. Stopped at my property line. Of course, Dana being Dana. She tried to flip the whole thing around and drag me to court, claiming emotional distress, loss of use, all the buzzwords. Maple Ridge HOA versus Logan Price went before Judge Harold Benton, a man who looked like he'd run out of patience sometime around the 90s. Dana stood up first, talked about how I'd maliciously confined their cars, how I'd humiliated the community, how she represented dozens of homeowners. Then Olivia stood, laid out the map, the emails, the photos of wine parties in my garage, the overflow HOA parking signs they'd nailed to my fence, the invoices for repairs to my bent door and scratched walls. She read the email where I'd warned them clearly, months earlier, that their parking was trespassing. We even had stills from my security camera, Dana holding a glass of red, laughing under my fluorescent lights. The judge looked at all of it, then looked at Dana like she was a glitch in the system and said, "You are very fortunate Mr. Price is not pressing criminal charges." He ruled the HOA's claim dismissed, ordered them to pay for my damages and legal fees, and reminded the courtroom that HOA bylaws do not override private property rights. Dana walked out shaking, telling me I'd embarrassed her. And I just thought, "You did that yourself. I just brought the projector." Within 2 weeks, Maple Ridge HOA was gone. The board dissolved, the funds drained by the court order, the Facebook page deleted, the sign out front quietly removed. The neighbors actually seemed happier. Kids rode bikes. People talked over fences without worrying if their grass was regulation length. Even Linda and Mark softened, embarrassed but human. We nodded to each other like veterans of the same ridiculous war. One afternoon, Dana's silver Lexus crept down the alley one last time. She stepped out, a little less polished, a little more tired, and told me she was moving out of state, that she still thought she was right, but didn't have the energy to keep fighting. She half apologized, half blamed me for making it public. I told her the truth, that I didn't humiliate her. I just refused to let her walk over me quietly. Now my garage doors shine with brand new steel locks. My lot is clear, my business runs smoothly, and there's a sign bolted next to the bay that says, half joke, half warning. HOA free zone. Trespassers may be comfortably locked in. Every time I see it, I remember one simple thing. This was never really about revenge. It was about respect. People ask me, was it worth it, locking them in, going to court, all that chaos? And honestly, yeah, it was, not because I wanted to watch Dana Whitfield fall, but because I needed to prove to myself that kindness isn't the same thing as weakness, that you're allowed to say no, even when someone waves a clipboard and calls it community. I learned that sometimes the quietest move, closing a door and walking away, can be louder than yelling, that a legal document can be sharper than any angry speech, that a well-placed lock can teach a lesson months of polite emails never will. So now I'll throw it to you. If someone treated your private garage like their personal parking structure, ignored every warning, broke in, held parties in your workspace, what would you have done? Would you tow? Would you fight? Would you lock and leave like I did? Tell me in the comments what justice looks like to you in a situation like this. Where's the line between standing up for yourself and going too far? And if you want more stories like this, messy, funny, a little bit petty, but ultimately about boundaries and basic respect, you know what to do. Hit subscribe. Because in a world full of mini dictators with HOA titles, sometimes all it takes to bring them back to reality is one locked door and a guy who's finally done being neighborly.